So the Springboks versus Scotland game is just around the corner, and in this preview, we will be looking through at the lineups that have been announced, the key players to watch out for, each team's form heading into this contest, and then a score prediction at the end, who we think will walk away with the victory. But we will start with the Springboks starting lineup. They did announce their team just a little bit earlier on in the week, then Scotland did, but the front row looking extremely strong, with Stephen Kitsoff at number 1, Malcolm Marx number 2, and number 3. Frans Malherbe. It was the expected front row that a lot of people felt the Springboks would go with. The only real change that we could see to the front row in the future games would be Umbanambi starting, rather. Then Malcolm Marx in the locking duo. It is Eben Etzebeth at number 4, number 5 being Franco Mostert. So after the great performance that both of those men had in the game up against the All Blacks, Springboks have backed them once again in the loose board trio. It is Physicality at number 6, number 7, Peter Steftotoy, but at number 8, it is not Dwayne Vermeulen. Instead, they have gone with Jasper Wiese, who's been a little bit more out of form than Vermeulen, so perhaps this is the game that he can start to turn it around. In the back line, it is Faf de Klerk at number 9, a lot of experience there for him, bringing up his 50th cap for the Springboks in this contest. And then number 10, it is Manie Libbok, who is still yet to bring up 10 caps. So there is a bit of a difference there between the experience of the 9 and 10, but Libbok at the moment, the first choice fly half. Looking through at the rest of the backline, number 11, Cheslin Colby in the centres. It is Damien Dialende and also Jesse Creel at 13. Number 14, Kurtley Arunsa. And then number 15, to close out the Springboks side, it is Damian Valimza. Looking through at Scotland. Now, this is a side that was announced around 24 hours ago from the time that this video does come out. Scotland, they're looking strong. They're looking ready for a challenge. And that is exactly what they will have in this game. Number 1, Piers Skurman. Number 2, George Turner. And number 3, Xander Fagerson. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, this is Fagerson's first game since getting himself that red card in the match a few weeks ago. Richie Gray and Grant Gilchrist will be the lock and duos. There's a lot of G's involved in those names. Jamie Ritchie at number 6, Rory Darge at number 7, and Jack Dempsey coming off the back of the scrum as the Scottish number 8. In the back line, it will be Ben White, the starting 9, with Finn Russell at 10. Now, the Springboks, they will look to shut him down relatively early in this game, not allow him any type of freedom to be able to go for those cross kicks or anything along those lines. I feel like Finn Russell, sometimes he doesn't actually know what he's going to do until it gets to the day, and that is why it can be so dangerous. But then other times is where the Scottish can struggle. Number 11, it is Duan van der Merwe. So originally it could have been Cheslin Colby versus Duan van der Merwe, but they did move Colby out to the left wing, which does mean Arunsa now has got that challenge. Number 12, Sione Tuipulotu, with number 13 being Hugh Jones. Number 14, it is Darcy Graham. And then number 15, to close out the Scottish side, they have gone with Blair Kinghorn. So those are the starting lineups for both of these teams. Both looking strong, both looking ready for their opening game of the Rugby World Cup. But looking through at the key players for these two sides. For the Springboks, Malcolm Marx, of course, he is always very dangerous when it comes to that line out. The rolling maul is something the Springboks may look to use throughout this 80 minutes to be able to put Scotland on the back foot. And I think Malcolm Marx, he's got a pretty good chance of being able to get himself a try in this game. Looking through at the back line for South Africa, there are quite a few important players in this back line, whether that is Manie Libbok off the kicking tee. Of course, South Africa will be wanting to get as many points as physically possible. He had a very good kicking day up against the All Blacks. The week prior to that, it was a little bit more shaky, but I believe Manie Libbok now, coming into this World Cup with some quite nice form, should be able to nail those kicks. And also in that back line, I'm quite looking forward to seeing Jesse Creel in action once more, because he had a phenomenal game in the contest up against Wales, getting himself 2 tries, but then he was left completely out of that lineup up against the All Blacks. That was when we got to see Andre Esterhuizen and Kane Moody get the chance to play in that midfield combo. But now that Creel hasn't played for a while, he has to make sure that he comes back and plays very well, or else Moody will take that spot at number 13. And perhaps that is what they try in their next contest. Also, Arunsa, try scorer machine. He'll be looking to get himself at least one in this game up against Scotland. Looking through at the Scottish lineup, I believe in the 4 packs, I'm looking at someone like a Jamie Ritchie. He's a little bit of a quiet workhorse, but when he does get involved in the game, he can certainly be a game changer. He has to try and get into the breakdown, match that physicality that the Springboks will be bringing, which is not an easy task to do, but I'm sure that Jamie Ritchie, he will be looking forward To the challenge in the back line, of course, Finn Russell. He's an X-factor player, and some of the plays that he does try throughout a game can be incredibly effective, including if he can find a pass out wide. To this man, Duan van der Merwe, I feel that he will be a real danger in this game because of that size, because of the physicality. He's going head-to-head with Arunsa, who has got quite a bit more size then, so the Springboks, they will have to make sure they have that second defender out on that side just in case, which can then open up opportunities somewhere else across the park, but it's certainly going to be entertaining, that is for sure, when these two sides go head-to-head. Looking through at the previous fixtures and how these sides are looking form-wise heading into this game. For South Africa, they had 3 games in the August internationals, the first of which being up against Argentina. They were able to win that one 24 points to 13. So an 11-point win, which was more than they had in the Rugby Championship up against Argentina, where they were narrowly able to sneak it. In their next contest, it was up against Wales 2 weeks later. They were able to win that game 52 points to 16. So a lot more one-sided. Jesse Kriel had a phenomenal game in that one. Damian Willemse playing nicely. The 4-pack was solid, and the scoreboard certainly shows just that. And speaking of scoreboard showing that, 35 points to 7. The next game for the Springboks, it was up against the All Blacks, the largest loss margin that the All Blacks had ever had. And that was due to the Springboks using their backline well, getting those forwards into the breakdowns and just keeping the ball out of the hands of New Zealand. The thing is, if South Africa can do a similar tactic to what they did up against the All Blacks here up against Scotland, they could find themselves with around that 60% or so possession, which could be a massive difference maker. Not just for this game, but throughout this World Cup. The more you can have your hands on the ball, the better it's going to be when you have got those world-class players. Then for the Scottish, they did have 4 games, 3 taking place in August, as well as one just a little bit prior on the 30th of July. That was up against the Italians. They were able to win that game 25 points to 13. Then next they had a 2-match series up against the French. They won the first one 25 points to 21. But then they did narrowly lose the second 30 points to 27. But something from Scotland that we have seen is they are always in the fight throughout a game. And their game up against Georgia early on, they were put under an immense amount of pressure from the Georgian forwards, but still managed to win that game 33 points to 6. So the second half was where they really started to shine. Of course, South Africa going with that 6-2 split off the bench, so they will have that extra forward. Scotland, they did opt for the 5-3. So later on in this game, definitely with the temperatures that are expected around France over the next few days, the last 20 minutes could be absolutely crucial. But now we are up to that stage of giving a score prediction for this game. Now, we did already do a video where we predicted every single game of the Rugby World Cup. That was without knowing who was going to be in the starting lineups or reserves for those games. Now, for this game between the Springboks and Scotland, I did go with 32 points to 18 in favour of the Springboks. And with the lineups that have been announced, I'm going to stick with that score prediction. Although at this stage, I am sitting 0% for my predictions. I did predict the All Blacks to sneak a victory over France, and look what happened there. But this game, I am going a 14-point victory in favour of the Springboks. We will have to wait and see whether or not that is correct. But thank you all very much for tuning in to this preview. Do let me know who you think will be winning this game in the comments down below, as well as who you think will get man of the match throughout this exciting first Rugby World Cup game for these two sides. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next one.